let's go over market stats for the last 7 days. And I just checked these, so they're fresh, hot off the press. If you're just looking at Orange County, we have had 337 listings. If that sounds low to you, then it should, because we have 688 pending and 441 sold. That's about 1,120 that are either pending or sold, with only 337 listed. So you can understand that it is still a strong seller's market, even though obviously we talk about buyers having a lot of power right now. Technically speaking, it is a seller's market. If you were looking at Orange, Osceola Lake, and Seminole all combined, we had 745 listings. 337 of those were Orange County. So like almost half, that's crazy. So 745 listings, 1523 pending, and 981 sold. January inventory was 40% down. I do that face because I've been feeling it so hard with my buyers. So that's insane. And sales are up 20%. So we are selling a lot and not having a lot being put on the market. So I've heard some sellers being scared to obviously list when they shouldn't be because they have the most leverage. So we can go over that at a different time. Today, I wanted to go over what you should ask your realtor when you are either listing or buying with them. I'm going to list the questions and then answer them as if you're interviewing me. You can get to know me a little bit as well. So the first question is, who do I work with? A lot of people ask me if I do rentals, specifically my poor little college friends. I typically don't. Reason being is they don't typically pay me. And if they do, it's a very, very, very nominal fee. I'm not really trained in leases. That's not what I do. So you don't want to trust me looking over your lease for you. Usually property managers do that anyways. I've helped my mother look for a rental. I think they gave me like $50 at the end of it. So it was nice, but you know, driving around to all those places, by the end of the day, you've spent that much in gas. So no, I don't do rentals. So I am a listing and buyer specialist, and I also do new construction. If you're wanting to build a house, don't just go in thinking the sales agent has your best interest. They're not horrible people, but they have the interest of the builder. So you want someone on your side that's gonna make sure we tick all the boxes and do everything right for your new construction. But yeah, primarily I do residential, hoping to get into commercial at some point, but let's stick with one thing at a time. 2 is, how much do I cost? That's different for different people. For buyers, I don't cost you anything. In the state of Florida, sellers typically pay, almost always, it's very rare, they almost always pay for commissions. So if you're a buyer, there's no harm in using me. There's really none. If you're a seller, then obviously that is a negotiable rate, and I don't wanna talk about commission because it's kind of tacky, but you do as a seller have to pay commission for both the buyer and the seller's agent, but it's a small part of your proceeds of your house, and realtors sell your house for more, so we end up paying for ourselves. And you don't have to worry about anything, and we have your back. So if you're a buyer, I'm free, seller, negotiable, but depends on the price of your house. We take a commission portion of the price of your house. 3, do I need to sign a contract to work with you, Savannah? Yes and no. Sellers, yes, and that's because I'm investing money into it, so I don't want to start paying for marketing, paying for all this for you to just jump ship and want to leave. So we have to sign a contract because I'm investing a lot of time and money into you. For buyers, I've been told that I should, but I don't have a buyer's contract. I typically don't. If you've gotten one for me, it's because I don't know you very well, or something about you seemed a little sketchy, so just very sorry if that embarrasses you. But I typically don't, because I find that it is a lot of time wasted, so there's a trust there, but I think that that trust does build me a lot of clients. I usually don't have to ask them to sign something saying they're tied to me, especially because typically buyer's contracts, if I say, hey, sign that you're gonna use me, you can fire me at any time. It's not a stable contract. With a seller, my contract says, hey, if you bail after I've spent all this money, hey, if this house sells, I get part of the proceeds. So that's a different ballgame with sellers. Obviously, I want to have a contract to protect myself and to protect the seller so that we all know where money goes if/when anything happens with the escrow or just the closing in general. With the buyer, I trust that you're trusting in me enough to use me. And I can get in a lot of trouble if you are using 2 buyer's agents, because that has happened to me, which is why I've been told to use buyer's contracts, because it kind of sets the precedent for people, hey, you should trust me and you should use me because we signed something, right? When people put pen to paper, they typically have a little more wherewithal when they're dipping out. But I've had people where I met them at, say, an open house, and it's going great, and we look really awesome as a little new couple, buyer and realtor. I show them a few homes. I never blatantly ask, do you have another realtor? Sometimes I do, sometimes they lie. And sometimes on my little sign-in sheet, they circle that they do not have one. And then all of a sudden, 5 houses in and 2 offers in, I get a call. This has happened to me. I got a call from a loan officer for this couple that was using me. And he goes, hey, I just want to let you know, they just called me and said they're using a different realtor and that they've submitted an offer for another house and they're closing. I had 2 offers open for them on other deals. That was horrible, because for me, I've wasted so much time. I've called so many people, written so many contracts, like, that was annoying, but the annoying part to me was, I wonder if they told the other agent too, because technically, if they were working with me before, I could report the other agent for ethical things and it's not good, but they probably didn't know either because I was in the dark too. That's the risky part with it, but I find that people are off-put by buyer's contracts. So I try to be just really easygoing with it, and if I trust you, you trust me back. And I just hope that people are good people. And if they're not, then I learn my lesson and I try to vet people better, but that's where I'm at right now. So if you're a buyer, no, we don't have to sign a contract, just two-way street of trust. If you're a seller, yes, because there's risk involved. How long have you been in the business? You should always ask your agent this. You should ask them if they're full-time. So how long have I been in the business? I feel like it's forever. I moved a lot as a kid, as some of you know, 14 times before college. And then after college, I think I've moved like 7 times since then. And that was just all over the US, all over everywhere. And my mom was a realtor growing up. So I used to go on showings. I used to hear her negotiate. You know, like I feel like I've been in it a long time, but I got my license actually about a year ago. A lot of you probably don't know that, but a lot of people I've sold houses to don't know that. But I got my license around Valentine's Day of last year, right before lockdown. It's a great time. Great time to do it. Am I full-time? Or you should ask your agent if they're full-time. Yes, this is my career. Some people go, oh, you just sell real estate? And I go, no, like this is my job. 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. or after, and on weekends, I am doing real estate, always. I'm always on call. I go to bed thinking about horrible contracts and promotional materials and all sorts of stuff. It's my life. I really, really love it. As a little kid, I wanted to be this, and now I am this. I am full-time in this. I'm the worship leader at my church too, but that's on Sundays, and it doesn't concern anyone else, and it doesn't interfere with my work. The problem with part-time people, I understand that some people are great. I've met very, very few good part-time agents, but I think I saw a Remax commercial, shout out to Remax, I guess. And it was the pizza delivery guy also being a real estate agent. And that's a real thing. People try to double dip. And I've had friends contact me saying, hey, should I just get into it as a side hustle? I'm like, this is not a side hustle. By the time you invest money for just your dues and your license renewal and all that stuff, if you just sell one house, it's not gonna do it. If you sell even a few houses, it's not worth it, and you're not gonna know the market. So I'm in it full time. I check all the databases probably a few times a day. I'm talking to realtors every day. I'm in it. And you want someone that is in it all the time, that's going to answer your call and not be at their other job. Just straight facts. You don't want a doctor who's also moonlighting as a ballerina. You just don't want it. There's just too many things going on. Their eggs are in too many baskets. My eggs were all in one. Therefore, it is risky when I don't have buyer's agreements, but we've already talked about that. Do I have any assistants at the moment? No. I found that one, I don't want to invest in one because Ryan and I are saving to buy a house in cash. So saving all the money, just working crazy hours. Also, my business isn't grown enough. I've only been in it a year. It's not my time yet. And I found that some assistants don't do the work that I would like them to do. I haven't seen a lot of ones that keep up with the pace that I even talk at, because I'm a very quick person. How many homes have I sold? So like I said, I got in the business. This is my first year. First year in real estate, typically you don't sell a lot. I'm not trying to undersell myself. I'm trying to show that I've done well. So a lot of people don't sell a lot. They might sell a couple, if that. They tell you when you get into real estate to have at least 6 months of savings before you think you're even going to make a paycheck. And after that, you're gonna have to live off that paycheck for a while. The median number of homes that the National Association of Realtors says that every realtor sells a year is 12. That is what I have done in my first year. So I'm gonna clap for myself because I don't give myself a lot of grace or a lot of pride, and I get really down on myself, but that's really good for my first year. I did 10 sales and then 2 referrals, but I get paid from referrals as well. So I've had a hand in doing 12, and then I have another listing coming up too. So I've done what the average real estate agent does in my first year. So I've made the median salary that people make in the longevity of their career. So I'm proud of myself, and I'm gonna say that and affirm myself. But full transparency, that is what I have done, both listings, referrals, and sales. And then that doesn't include the rentals, the 2 that I've done for very close friends. Okay. You should also ask your realtor for references. So nowadays you have, like Zillow reviews, Google reviews, those are really great resources as well. But your realtor should be able to provide you with people, if you so choose, to reach out to. You can ask them, hey, what does she do well? Is there anything I should look out for? Should I even use her? Because yeah, Google reviews can be great, but that could be their top 5 people. Feel free to reach out to any one of my past clients. I will give you their names and numbers if you need them. It's the biggest investment of your life. I think people, they're like, oh, well, I have an aunt that does it. And that's great. If she's thebomb.com, awesome. Like, power to her, use her. She's nurtured you your whole life. But if you just know someone and that kind of does real estate and you haven't really checked into them, check into them. Because even today I saw $1 million listing with iPhone photos and spelling errors in the description. And I said, they must have just hired their best friend. And they're getting paid. They're getting paid thousands of dollars to do this work for you because it's hard work. It astounds me. So make sure you do your due diligence and you really trust that person and you have all the background. Next question. How many clients do I take on at once? That varies. Typically because I have lots of clients, but some of them aren't buying for another 10 months, but I still hunt for them sometimes, where I have clients that are ready right now, or I have clients that are getting there in a month or 2. I don't overextend myself. I have in the past in all of my life, but I really work on that. That's probably the top character thing that I work on in myself, is to not put too many things on my plate and not to eat with my eyes for what I work with, if that makes sense, because I have a tendency to do too much. And I've really learned to go, okay, how do I best serve people quality wise while keeping my own sanity? I used to just I worked 3 jobs while going to school full-time in college, graduated cum laude. So that tells you I had a 3.9 grade point average while working 3 jobs. So I'm an overachiever in everything I do. So I've had to learn how to reel back before I essentially run myself dry. Right now, I think I have 4 active people that I'm really searching for right now. Like if we find something, we go on a showing. Then I have a lot of other ones as well. And that's important to ask because you want to know how much time they're going to have to you. Never think that I'm too busy for you. If I am, I will tell you. And I'll either refer you out or I'll say, hey, do you need to buy now or are we in 5 months? Where are we at? And we can work on that if you really want to use me. You'll notice if I'm not responding to you quickly, you can tell, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want anyone to ever think that they're second rate. I treat all my clients as if they're my only client. I've gotten that in reviews too. When I'm working with several people at once, people are like, I never knew. I thought it was just me, because I'm really, really there for you. But that's important to know. If they're working with 17 and they've sold 17 houses that month, you have to go, am I getting you or am I getting 3 of your assistants? And if that's fine for you, that's fine. I like working one-on-one with people. I don't like giving it to everyone else and having a hands-off experience. I feel like that takes away from why I love what I do. Okay. Ooh, ask your agent if they require you as a buyer to get a pre-approval before they'll work with you. Interesting question. A lot of people ask that, actually. That's one of the top things you're supposed to ask your realtor. A lot of people think I don't know how to say that without cursing, and I don't like to curse. Hard butt on them. Like, I'm not trying to be difficult when I ask you to get a pre-approval. I'm not saying I don't trust that you have the money. I don't trust you make a lot of money. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to have that before we look at houses, because if you find something you like, you cannot make an offer without a pre-approval letter. Therefore, in this market right now with 40% low inventory and an average of 3 to 5 offers on every house, you want to have that pre-approval in your back pocket. Otherwise, you're going to see it, and then the showing 15 minutes after you're going to see it, they're also going to fall in love with the house. They already have their pre-approval, their offer's in, and before you can even get your pre-approval, the house is off the market. That's why I tell you guys to get pre-approved. I have shown people houses without it, and I usually do it because I need the client, and I'm like, ooh, I trust them, or okay, I just need to show my good faith, show them that I'm going to open this door for them and show them through this house and give them the information before I jump down their throats. It's a very delicate balance being a realtor. It's essentially a therapist all the time. And I love that because I love helping people and kind of getting in on who they are and what makes them tick. Really makes me happy. It's really satisfying when you make someone cry at the end who's like a really tough guy. You're like, Yes. So I do recommend you get a pre-approval. If we have our buyer consultation, I will ask you to do that as the first step. Otherwise, you don't know what you can afford and you don't know what you can't afford. You might see a house that you're 20,000 over, or you might think that you can only afford 200,000 when you can afford 3. You never know. Get pre-approved. Get several quotes. My lenders don't like me saying that, but get quotes from everyone. Next question. Can I recommend people? Yes. So say that you're in Sarasota. Technically, I can work over there. I don't like to because it's a 3 or 4 hour drive every time I go. So I know people over there. I know a great Sarasota agent. I know a great Jacksonville agent. I know a great agent up in Kentucky, in New York. I can always find someone for you. And I can recommend people in terms of vendors. I have great relationships with contractors, handymen, inspectors, septic tank people. Yes, I can recommend all vendors to you, all different types of things. That is my job. My job is to be in the know for you. Next question. Where do I work? Or where does your agent work? You should ask them, hey, because where I live doesn't mean that's the only place I work, but you also need to know if she's like, oh yeah, I can sell you a house in Sarasota, and she's never set foot there, and she's lived in Orlando her whole life and only ever gone in Orlando, you need to know that. I've lived all over Florida. So I've lived in Tampa, Riverview, Apollo Beach, Boca Raton, and like a bunch of different parts of Orlando. I do know Florida very well. I primarily work in Lake Osceola, Orange, and Seminole. That's why I give those market stats every time. Predominantly Orange County, mostly because I do live here, and Orange County is the most dominant out of those counties that people flock to. It's the major hub. I live in Lake Nona, but that doesn't mean that I only work in Lake Nona. I sold my first house in Claremont. I've sold in St. Cloud. I work in Kissimmee. I'm working for people in Mount Dora right now. So everywhere, guys. So Osceola, Lake, Seminole, and Orange are my classic 4, but we can go beyond that, and I can refer you to people beyond that. If I'm not comfortable, I will not take you on tours there. If I don't know the area, I'm not going to pretend I do, because I'll look stupid, and I really do not like looking incompetent. I'm not going to do that to myself, and I won't do that to you. But those are my primary 4 counties. Next thing is communication. Always ask your agent how they best communicate, but they should really ask you what you prefer. And that's what I do. Every time I meet someone, I say, how would you like me to communicate? Do you like email? Do you like text? Do you like phone calls? How often? Do you want an update every day? Every hour? Depends on the situation. Some people, if they're a few months out, they say once a week. Some people, if they're on it right now, they say, the second it hits the market, I want to know. And that's what I do for them. It's always different, and I try to customize it for you, but it goes the same way. Don't tell me you like email if you never check your email. And don't tell me you like phone calls if you get really anxious answering the phone. We're here for you, but do ask how often they plan to communicate with you and on what schedule works for you. Just try to make that clear between them as you're interviewing them. Next thing is, can you go over the whole process in detail? I get asked that a lot. Of course. I prefer to do that because sometimes people say, oh, I know how to buy a house. I go, okay. And we start doing the process, and they have a million very basic questions, what I call basic. Obviously, there's a lot going on in real estate, but for me, it's like I would have answered that when we sat down. So what I prefer to do is have a buyer's consultation and a listing presentation. So I come, if you've ever bought or sold a house, it's probably happened to you. We come and we sit down and we go over everything with you. The entire process, what things are going to cost, estimations of what things are going to cost, and I explain any questions you have. And I will, of course, along the process as well, but major thing is to sit down at first so you understand it before we even start. Yeah, those are the main things that you need to ask an agent before you hire them and work with them. And obviously those were my answers to them. I've been on for 23 minutes, so I think I need to sign off because these are supposed to be 15 minutes long, but I tend to talk to myself for way too long. Thank you all for joining, and I hope that you learned something about me or about the process. And if you're somewhere else in the States, I have a lot of people from where I used to live that follow me. These are what you need to ask your agent, or you can ask me to just tell you someone who's good up there, and I'll fit them to your needs. You tell me what you need in an agent, and I'll help you. I really do that. I try to match people really well. I love you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and happy Thursday.